Hey, Beer 2, Brian here, drinking a little of my homebrew IPA. Still tasting pretty good, nice and hoppy. Anyway, I thought I'd make a little supplemental video on the whole Lost Abbey, port brewing, pizza port, that whole thing, because everyone's kind of having questions on it, and I know it's a little bit confusing. So anyway, here's my pizza port growler. Thankfully, it has some information on the back of it. Now, if you can see on there, it says it was established in 1987. Now, the first pizza port location was in Solana Beach, which is about 20 miles maybe south of where I'm at, maybe 15 or so. And then they, the same couple that started that one's been opening up more locations. They opened up the second one in Carlsbad in 97, and then they opened up one in San Clemente that I went to in 2003, and then most recently this year they opened one in Ocean Beach, which is about 30-40 miles south of where I'm at. Three of those are in San Diego County, and then the other one, San Clemente, is up in southern Orange County. Now what happened is Stone moved locations from their San Marcos brewery over to their new facility, and then at that point Tom Arthur, who apparently at some point came on board at one of the pizza port locations, I think it might have been the original Solana Beach location, he stepped in, took the space that Stone was at in San Marcos and started up the Lost Abbey wing. And at that point they decided some of their recipes at different pizza port locations that they would actually bottle them up. And so as you can see, I have some beers here. Here's the Lost Abbey. Now back in the day you could only get you could get some of Tom's Belgian style beers only at the pizza port locations, but then he opened up the new facility, well, not new facility, but the Lost Abbey / port brewing facility over in San Marcos, and now you can go buy bottles of Lost Abbey and get that on draft, and as well as some of the port brewing beers. Now all the port brewing beers, to my knowledge, are brewed at the Lost Abbey facility in San Marcos, bottled there, and that's why you can see on Older Viscosity that on the top it has the Lost Abbey Celtic Cross on there. And so all the pizza port locations are just tap and growler fills and pizza and all that. You can sometimes buy bottles depending on the location there, but I hope that kind of clears it up. Pizza port, they do their own beers, and then they have a lot of great guest draft beers as well. Most of the place also serve on cask 1 or 2 beers, but everything that they have, each of the pizza port has their own, head brewer. And so the whole relationship between port brewing and Lost Abbey is that Tom Arthur, I guess, is still kind of like the head overseer of all the port brewing locations and what they're brewing. But each individual place has their own head brewer and brewers, and they're all always brewing batches on site. I think it says here that San Clemente does about 2,000 barrels a year, and Pizza Port Carlsbad does about 3,000 barrels a year. So they brew a lot of their own in-house beers. Sometimes they're their own different takes on a certain recipe, sometimes they're completely different recipes. But all those beers are only available on site. You can't get them at Lost Abbey. Everything that's bottled at the Lost Abbey Port Brewing you can get on tap, like your Hot 15, your 2nd anniversary, 3rd anniversary, all those, the Panzer Pilsner, the Hot Rocks, all your Lost Abbeys, Inferno, Judgment Day, Lost and Found, all that you'll find over that location. Generally speaking, you'll occasionally see them pop up at the pizza port locations, but usually they're just over at that brewery. But occasionally you will see a bottled version of port brewing like Shark Bite Red. That's often on tap at some of the locations, but generally speaking the beers that you get there are brewed on site. So that, to my knowledge, is kind of how it works with it all. I know it's a bit confusing. It's still slightly confusing to me in terms of like who's exactly running what and how it all works out, but if you know better of the relationship between port brewing, Lost Abbey, all that, please leave a comment. But to my knowledge, that's my understanding of how it all worked out. So, until next time, cheers.